I did a video a few months ago on load development for the 6.5 by 55 Swedish Mauser. And what it was is I tried to get around and work up a hand load for these guns. And I was using one type of powder, then I found some load data, tried another type of powder. I did a little bit of experimentation, wasn't quite satisfied. Found something I liked with this other powder and went with it. So what I did is I loaded a bunch of shells and I was going to go out and test this. But I never got around to it between the coronavirus, the Carcano madness, and everything else. I got caught up in some other projects. So today I finally said, you know what, I'm going to take a break and I'm going to go and sort all this out. What I used are the three different rifles I have, and I kind of got mixed up. What I have is I have this M96 long rifle, just the long rifle version. It had a threaded muzzle, and this is a 1906 Carl Gustav. Okay, straight bolt, pretty good shape. I picked this up, this is the most recent one I got, and it has this micrometer style sight on it. And when I do the testing phase, this was the first rifle that I used, is this one here. All right, then I have a second long rifle. Now this one just has the standard sight on it. It's not threaded at the muzzle. It's just a, the original style gun. Now they did make a shorter version of this, and they either converted the long rifles to it, then after a certain point in the 40s they were purpose built. Which brings us to our third gun. This one I've had for a few years. I bought this one a few years ago. And this one shortly afterwards I bought. This is a short gun. Okay. And we almost forgot the maker. Okay, this is a Carl Gustav 1909. The first one is a 1906. And then this rifle here, which was a long rifle but shortened, is Mauser Obendorf 1900. And this has a turn down bolt handle, the shorter barrel arrangement, and also has the micrometer style sight. Now the weird difference is this one starts about at 2 on this, and this shoots high. And I believe this rifle had at one time a brass plate affixed down here. And what that did is it told you, I guess it told you the hold pattern or the distance for the sights on this. Where this one here does not appear to have that. And also the difference is this rear sight, now they start at 1, where that one starts at 2 or something. They're a little bit different in the sights. And this gun always shot low, and this gun always shot high. Okay? So, what I did is when I started to develop the load for these rifles, okay, I'll go into the powders here in a minute. The powder I was using was IMR 4350. I've had very good results with that powder in all types of military calibers. 6.5 Dutch. I haven't quite tried 7.62 by 54, but it works well in an 8 by 56R for the straight pulls, and I had good luck with it. What happened once during one of the panics and crises, I went to reload some 8mm Lebel, and I was looking through the load data, and the only powder they had available was IMR 4831. That was the only powder I can find anywhere. You couldn't buy any online, and Gander Mountain had like a whole case of this in there. So I bought a pound of this because I found load data, which didn't quite work out for the 8mm LaBelle. So I had some of this powder, and it was sitting there for a long time, years. And then I found some load data. I guess I wasn't quite satisfied. I was using Hornady 140 grain bullets for this. I wasn't quite satisfied with the 4350. So I said, you know, I got this, let's try it. And if you look on that video, load development, you'll see the one load I picked, I had like 3 out of the 5-shot string all had the same velocity. This stuff was fantastic. Okay, so I used 140 grain SST bullet, and it does well in the 6.5 Creedmoor, and I think in the testing at 50 yards it did quite well also, grouped. So I loaded up some, I did the testing, I said, all right, let me load up some, the rest of the box. And I said, while I was doing that, I found some PPU 139 grain bullets. I use them for the 6.5 Japanese. I had like 20 or 30 odd ones left over. So I said, let me try it bullet for bullet. In other words, use the same powder charge, same primer, same brass. Just swap the bullets close enough, I think a grain difference. So I decided, okay, I loaded that. And also, I had some commercial ammo that, you know, I brought with me. I used to pick up a few boxes of this when I go to the flea market. And this is 131 grain soft point, okay? And so I said, all right, I had this, I couldn't, so I said, I might as well shoot it, and I'll use it to compare the load I like with the Hornady bullet, same load with the PPU bullet, and throw this in just as an oddball. And then I also found a box. This is where the third or the fourth round comes in. I loaded up with 4350, the load that I liked, or was loading, had the best results. I loaded that with PPU bullet, 139 grain bullet. So I had 4 different types of ammo that I ran through the guns, except for this last one. I only had 10 rounds of the soft point, so I did not run the soft point in this short gun, okay? But I did run it through the 2 long guns, and just to see the difference. And this is going to be in the second video. This is part 1, and part 2 we'll go to the range and go through me shooting it. I was kind of amazed at the results. Now, first problem I think was I wasn't quite on today. I was a little off in my shooting, which happens. And 100 yards, that's when you're starting to see what you're doing. Okay, the 50-yard thing is all right. And you know, at 50 yards, your variances will be like this, 1 inch, 2 inches. But when you go, you know, the farther the distance, the more the variance is going to be spaced. And there are open sights, iron sights, off somewhat that plastic rest ain't exactly the best. As you can watch me, I'm constantly shifting, trying to get the correct sight picture. But once you figure out where the guns are shooting, you know, they do well. Now, these Swedish Mausers got a reputation. They're high quality guns, the ones made in Germany and the ones made there by the Swedes. They're made out of first class materials. They're one of Mauser's older bolt action designs, but the barrels are made out of a super high quality steel, okay? And the cartridge is kind of inherently accurate. Once you get the correct bullet, about 140 grain weight bullet, I think is what they ended up using for a majority of the service life of this gun, and for target shooting, 140 grain bullet, spire point boat tail bullet. They originally used, the original cartridge back in the 1890s used a 160 grain torpedo bullet probably with a flat base. But when you look at the guns, the sights have all been regulated for the newer bullet as time went on. And that's another thing. A lot of people say, well, look at the disc here in the stock, and it tells you bore wear, and there's a 1, 2, and 3 where these, when they get reworked and they check them, and Armor checks them, they'll stamp the disc and tell you what bore wear is on there. Now, if these discs really are with a rifle, you can read that and know what the bore is like, but here's the thing. I've seen people sell just the discs, okay, off of guns, stamped, unstamped. So, unless you know who you're getting it from or where it comes from, and after 120 years you don't know, okay, sometimes you might not be able to go by the disc. Okay, it could have been swapped out. Like, you got a bad one on there, a guy went and bought one, as one says the bore is nice, stick that one on there. Don't know. So figuring out how to read it is a good idea, but like I said, I've seen people do some weird stuff, okay, and I'm not trusting. But anyway, in the next video, I go out, run ammo through this at 100 yards, and we'll see the results. I'm still going to stick with this powder, but I may change my bullet options, and you'll find out why in the next video, the part 2 video. So enjoy.